welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're diving into rewriting ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
This is a pretty mind-blowing look at what if we could actually use viruses to change human traits.
And it's not sci-fi.
Right.
This is based on real science.
It is. So we're going to jump right into some scenarios, some stories that explore like what might actually happen if these possibilities became reality.
Yeah.
All right, so first up, it's 2042. Imagine a world where the wealthy can basically enhance themselves. Think super intelligence, super strength.
Like a real genetic advantage.
Right. They're better, they're stronger, they're smarter. How does that even work?
Well, the idea is to use these modified retroviruses, right? And retroviruses, they're really interesting because they can insert their own genetic material
Into our DNA.
exactly into our DNA. So scientists, what they can do is tweak that ability and use retroviruses almost like little delivery trucks.
Like for good genes.
Yeah, for beneficial gene edits, right? So they're delivering these enhancements directly into people's DNA.
So in this world, like the rich are literally like rewriting themselves to be better, faster, stronger. And we meet Ava in this first story. She's a bright student, but she feels completely left behind by her classmates who've all had these genetic advantages.
Right.
So it really begs the question, like, how much of our like intelligence and athleticism is really just about genes?
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's not just about a few genes. I mean, you have hundreds of genes that play a role in these complex traits.
Right.
Plus, you can't forget about the environment, right?
Yeah.
Your upbringing, your experiences, all that plays a role. And then there's epigenetics.
Oh, tell me about epigenetics.
Epigenetics is fascinating. It's basically how your lifestyle and your experiences can actually change the way your genes work.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like this extra layer of complexity on top of your DNA.
So it's not even as simple as like you get the good genes and you're good to go.
Exactly. It's way more complicated than that.
Right.
And I think that's what this story, Ava's story, really highlights, right? It's like we're kind of forgetting that it's complicated.
We want it to be simple.
Yeah, we want it to be simple, and we're creating this idea of genetic perfection.
Right.
It's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, it's never that simple.
And then what happens to the people who don't have access to these technologies?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a big part of this story too, right? The gap between the haves and the have-nots, it just gets wider and wider.
Okay, so let's jump ahead a few years.
Okay.
It's 2045.
Yeah.
And now we've got a deadly new virus on our hands.
Oh.
It's called crimson fever. It's bad.
Yeah, it's causing chaos everywhere. People are panicking. It's
a global pandemic.
A global pandemic, exactly. And the only hope seems to be this new gene-editing retrovirus.
They can make people immune?
That's the idea. It can provide immunity. But here's the problem.
There's not enough for everyone.
There's just not enough. They can't make enough of it fast enough.
So how do you decide who gets a chance to survive?
Right. I mean, it's an impossible choice.
Yeah.
And in this story, they come up with this global lottery system.
Wow.
Imagine that.
That is just, can you even imagine the ethical dilemma?
Oh, no.
I
mean, who lives? Who dies?
And who decides?
Right. And the story really brings it home because you have this young father who loses out in the lottery to someone who's already genetically enhanced.
It's like they had a head start.
Yeah, and it shows how these technologies could actually make things more unfair.
Right.
They can exacerbate those existing inequalities.
It's not just about the science, it's about the impact on society.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's paint another picture. It's 2050.
Okay.
And we've got genetic cosmetic clinics.
Genetic cosmetic clinic.
They're everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
Offering retroviral treatments to change
like your hair color,
your hair,
your eye color,
your
skin color.
Yeah. You can change your appearance.
It's wild. Right. And the crazy thing is the science is there.
It's there.
It's there. We know about genes like MC1R, OCA2, and AKRC2. These genes, they all play a role in melanin production, which determines our skin and hair color.
So theoretically, you could actually target those genes and change how you look.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, you could order up your ideal appearance.
Wow.
It's pretty mind-blowing. But it also raises some serious questions, right?
Like what?
Well, what happens to our body image?
Oh, yeah.
When we can change our appearance so easily? What about our cultural identity?
Yeah.
You know, if we can all just kind of choose to look the same,
right?
What happens to those unique cultural traits?
And don't we already have enough pressure?
Oh, absolutely. We already have so much pressure to conform.
Yeah.
Imagine taking that to a whole new level.
Oh, it's scary.
It is a little bit scary, isn't it?
Okay, so let's talk sports.
Okay.
2055, the Olympics. But these athletes, they're not just training hard.
Right.
They're undergoing gene editing.
What?
Like to enhance their performance?
To enhance their performance.
Wow.
It's superhuman performance.
So they're literally rewriting the rule book of human potential.
Yeah. They're targeting genes that affect muscle mass, oxygen utilization, how quickly your body clears lactic acid.
I mean, is it even sport at that point?
Yeah, is it still sport?
It's a good question.
Yeah. And so in this scenario, we meet Elena. She's this incredible runner.
Okay.
She's like naturally gifted, but she refuses to enhance herself.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way.
Wow. So it's like a clash between natural ability
and technology.
Yeah.
Like, where do we draw the line?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that, it shows that there's still a place for those who choose not to go down that road. It's about staying true to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a powerful message.
So, okay, now let's meet David. David he's ambitious.
Okay.
He's looking for an edge. And so he signs up for this cognitive enhancement program.
Like to make him smarter.
Yeah, to make him smarter, more focused, better memory.
And how do they do that?
Well, they use this targeted retroviral therapy, right?
Okay.
To deliver genes like BDNF and COMT.
Okay.
Straight to his brain.
Wow.
And these genes are involved in memory and learning and focus.
So he's getting a brain boost, basically.
Yeah, he's getting a brain boost. And at first, it's amazing. His memory is razor sharp.
Yeah.
He's focused. He feels unstoppable, like he can do anything.
Yeah.
But then it all goes wrong.
What happened?
He starts getting these debilitating migraines.
Oh, no.
Even seizures. They have to shut the whole program down. And it becomes this really stark reminder that we don't fully understand the brain.
Right.
We're messing with this incredibly complex system.
Right. We're still in the early stages of understanding how it all works.
Yeah. And it's a cautionary tale, right?
Yeah.
About the potential downsides of playing with fire.
Exactly. I mean, the brain is so intricate.
Yeah.
Even small changes can have cascading effects.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, totally unpredictable.
Okay, so let's fast forward again. 2065. And there are rumors of these top secret government projects.
Okay.
They're pushing the boundaries of science and warfare.
What are they doing?
Well, this story dives into a biomolecular arms race.
A biomolecular arms race.
Yeah, nations are secretly developing genetically enhanced soldiers.
Super soldiers.
Super soldiers. And they're using these retroviral vectors to do it.
So, what kind of enhancements are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about strength, endurance, resistance to bioweapons.
It's kind of terrifying, isn't it?
It is. It's imagine
a battlefield with genetically modified soldiers.
It's a whole new level of warfare.
Right. It changes everything.
Yeah.
The ethics, the strategy, everything.
And at the center of this story, we've got Dr. Chen.
Okay.
She's a scientist. Her research is groundbreaking, but it's being weaponized.
Oh, wow.
And she's torn. Right.
Of course. I mean, that's the dilemma for a lot of scientists, right? How do you make sure your work isn't used for harm?
Yeah.
Especially in this new era of gene editing.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is.
So we've seen a lot of scenarios where, this could really go wrong.
Right.
But let's end on a more hopeful note.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
It's 2070. We meet Sarah. She's been struggling with this really debilitating hormonal imbalance.
Oh, what?
And it's been affecting her health, her quality of life, everything.
Right.
But now, thanks to these advancements in retroviral therapy, her life is totally different.
So they were able to correct the imbalance.
Yeah. They can precisely regulate her hormone levels.
Wow.
And it's this beautiful example of the healing potential of gene editing.
Right. I mean, amidst all the potential dangers, there's this incredible potential for good.
So we've covered a lot of ground just in this first part.
Yeah, we have.
From enhanced intelligence to super soldiers.
To healing.
To healing.
To harm.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
And we're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
There's so much more to uncover.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dig a little deeper into the ethics of all this and what kind of future we might be creating with these powerful technologies.
It's going to be interesting.
I think so.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
You bet. Welcome back.
It's crazy to think that, all this stuff we've been talking about, it's not just sci-fi anymore.
Right.
It's becoming reality.
Yeah, it's happening fast.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And we've seen both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen the amazing advancements and then the kind of dystopian outcomes, the scary stuff.
Right. The super soldiers and the genetic divide.
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is. Like, how do we even navigate all this without losing sight of...
It makes us human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of who we are, of what matters.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any easy answers, but I think we need to start talking about ethics, like, seriously.
Right.
We can't just let the science, run wild without thinking about the consequences.
Yeah, we need some kind of guidelines, right?
Yeah, we need some rules, some regulations.
Yeah, but who decides what those are?
Exactly. And how do we make sure they're applied fairly?
Really?
This is a global issue.
It is, yeah. And I keep thinking about that Crimson Fever scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if we're not careful, we could make those inequalities even worse.
Yeah, exactly. We could end up with a world where only the wealthy and powerful have access to these enhancements.
It's almost like a new kind of arms race.
It is, but instead of weapons,
it's genes.
It's genes.
And then it raises that question, like,
yeah,
should we even be changing the essence of what it means to be human?
Right. Like, what happens when we start messing with intelligence, athletic ability, even emotions?
Yeah, emotions. It's like, are we playing God?
It's a slippery slope.
It is.
And there's no easy answer, but we can't ignore the potential benefits either.
Oh, absolutely. Like Sarah.
Yes.
How her life was transformed.
Right. I mean, imagine being able to alleviate suffering and improve lives in ways we never even thought possible.
Right.
That's powerful.
It is. So it's about balance.
Yeah.
Finding that balance between the good and the potential risks.
Absolutely. And that means a lot of careful research.
Right.
A lot of open dialogue and being willing to adapt as we learn more.
Yeah.
Because we're still figuring this out.
And thinking long term.
Yes. Thinking about the long-term consequences.
We're talking about changing the human gene pool.
Right.
Like, this could affect generations to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a huge responsibility, right?
Right. It is. And I can't help but think about those genetically modified soldiers.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a scary future.
It is, and it shows us that we need to be proactive
about
preventing these technologies from being weaponized.
Yeah, we need international cooperation. Right?
Yeah, we need to be talking to each other.
Yeah, we need strong ethical frameworks to guide the research, the development.
Yeah.
We need to be having these conversations.
We do. That's so important.
And it's important to remember that technology, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It can be used for good or for bad.
Right. It depends on who's using it.
It does. And what gives me hope is, like, even in those dystopian scenarios, there were people who were fighting back.
Right. Like people who weren't giving up.
Yeah, they weren't giving up. They were like, no, we want a better future.
Like Elena.
Yeah, Elena, the runner.
Who didn't want to enhance herself.
Yeah. And Dr. Chan.
Yeah, struggling with her research being used for the military.
Yeah, they show us that even when things are really bad, we still have choices.
You do.
We can shape our own destiny.
It's powerful.
It is. It's like, we're not just, passive passengers on this ride.
Yeah, we have agency.
Yeah, we have a say in what happens.
And it's important to remember, these are just stories.
Right.
They're thought experiments.
Yeah.
But they're based on real science.
Right.
So it's not far-fetched to think that these scenarios could actually play out.
Yeah, so we got to start preparing now.
Yeah, we got to have those difficult conversations. we got to develop those ethical frameworks and make sure we're using these tools for the benefit of all humanity.
Yeah, for good, not for bad.
Right.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
It does.
Like we have these incredibly powerful tools, and it's up to us to decide how we use them.
That's a great way to put it.
It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time.
It is. But it's also exciting, right? We have the potential to shape a future where these technologies are used for good.
To heal.
Yeah, to heal, to improve lives, to expand human potential.
Yeah, but in a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way.
It's a future worth fighting for.
It is.
So that's the end of part 2.
Wow, time flies.
I know, right? We've explored the ethical dilemmas, the potential benefits, the risks.
Yeah.
The importance of responsible innovation.
It's been a great discussion.
But there's still more to talk about.
There is.
So in part 3, we're gonna look at the potential impact of all this on society as a whole.
Oh, that's a big one.
How might it change our relationships? Our sense of self.
Our whole understanding of what it means to be human.
It's gonna be interesting.
It is. So stay tuned. We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive
into the world of viruses that could rewrite human DNA.
It's a wild world out there.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be here.
So we've been on this incredible journey exploring, rewriting ourselves.
Yeah, it's been wild.
It has, hasn't it? We've talked about superintelligence, designer babies, genetically modified soldiers. It's a lot.
A lot to unpack, for sure.
And today we're kind of zooming out.
Okay.
Look at like the bigger picture. How might all of this impact society as a whole?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is a big question. Like what happens to, our relationships, our sense of self,
right?
Our understanding of like what it means to be human.
Yeah, I mean, if we can rewrite our own biology, what does that do to us?
Yeah, like let's start with identity.
Okay.
Like if we can change our physical traits, our abilities, even our personalities.
Through gene editing?
Through gene editing.
Yeah.
Like what does that do to our sense of self?
Right, like who are you, really?
Yeah.
If you've changed so much.
Right. Imagine a world where like people can choose their appearance, their talents, their temperament. Like
it's all customizable. What happens to individuality? Right. What happens to authenticity?
Yeah, like is there even a difference between someone who's, naturally gifted and someone who's achieved that same ability through gene editing?
Right. It's like nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
But on a whole other level.
Right, exactly. And it makes you think about what we value as a society.
Right.
Do we prize like natural talent or engineered perfection? How do we measure success in a world where everyone can be, optimized?
Yeah, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah. And how does all of this affect our relationships?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like imagine falling in love with someone.
Yeah.
And then finding out they've had like a ton of genetic modifications.
Right.
Does it change how you feel about them?
I mean, I don't know.
Right.
It's a tough question.
It's weird to think about.
Yeah.
Or what if like you're dating someone and they decide to get, a cognitive enhancement?
Oh.
Like does that create an imbalance?
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Like suddenly they're operating on a different level.
Right.
The whole new world of relationship drama.
It is. And then think about parenting in this world.
Oh my gosh, parenting.
Like what happens when parents can choose their children's traits?
Designer babies.
Designer babies.
I mean, we're already kind of doing that in some way.
We are, yeah.
But this takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah. It's like helicopter parenting.
Yeah.
On steroids.
Right. You're not just controlling their activities.
Right.
You're controlling their genes.
You're designing their genetic blueprint.
Yeah.
What about the kids who aren't genetically enhanced?
Yeah. What happens to...
Do they face like a new kind of discrimination?
A genetic underclass.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
It is. It really is. And it's not hard to imagine, these technologies kind of making those social divides even worse.
Right, like exacerbating the inequalities that already exist.
Exactly. And then there's the potential for like social unrest, right?
Yeah.
Like people protesting for access to these technologies, demanding the right to enhance themselves.
Right. It could get messy.
It could get really messy.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the science. Right?
No, it's not just about the science.
It's about understanding like
an impact.
Yeah, the impact on society.
On people, on relationships, on everything.
And I think that's why we're doing this deep dive, it's all about exploring these possibilities and thinking about how we can, shape the future that we want to see.
Right.
It's not about stopping progress.
Yeah.
But it's about guiding it responsibly.
Yeah, thinking about the ethics, the long-term consequences, the impact on all of humanity.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
It does, doesn't it?
It does. We have these incredibly powerful tools, and it's up to us to decide.
Yeah, how we use them.
Exactly.
It's both exciting and terrifying.
It is. But I think it's also, incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
We have the potential to shape a future where these technologies are used for good, to heal, to improve lives, to expand human potential.
Yeah.
But in a positive way.
In a positive way, that's key.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be striving for.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of rewriting ourselves.
Wow, that went by fast.
I know, right? It's been an incredible journey. We've explored some really fascinating, challenging ideas.
Definitely.
And we hope it's given you, some food for thought.
Yeah, definitely.
This is just the beginning of the conversation.
It is, yeah.
So keep thinking.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning. Keep talking about these issues.
Absolutely.
Because the future is in our hands.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
It has. Thanks for listening, everyone.